The House on Blackwood Road. Chapter 8. The Last Photograph. If you missed previous chapter, you can visit our first videos. Emma hadn't spoken in 3 days. The paramedics who found her walking barefoot along Blackwood Road said she was in shock. The sheriff's deputy said she looked like something chewed her up and spat her back out. The nurse at the county hospital whispered to another nurse that nobody should have survived what happened in that house. But Emma had. Barely. Her hands were raw, her throat burned, and her skin smelled faintly of smoke and wet soil. But the worst part wasn't on her body. It was inside her head. The echoes. They came in the quiet moments, just when she began to think she was safe. Thump, thump, thump. A heartbeat that wasn't hers. She sat in the hospital room, a paper cup of cold water untouched in her hand. A detective entered. He was older, gray hair, kind eyes trying to look firm. His badge read, Detective Grayson. "Emma," he said gently, "we need to go over it one more time." She didn't look at him. The blinds were open. Outside, the late autumn light was thin and gray, the kind that made the world feel half dead. "You say you went back to the house to find your boyfriend, Daniel Wright, correct?" She nodded slowly. "You said there were voices and a fog, and then a tunnel." He hesitated, as if trying not to sound dismissive. "Emma, the team didn't find any tunnel. The basement's sealed. The floor's rotted, sure, but there's nothing there." Her fingers tightened around the cup until it crumpled. "There was a tunnel," she whispered, "and something inside it." Grayson exhaled through his nose. He'd heard hundreds of stories in his career, some lies, some madness, some the truth. He couldn't quite decide which one this was. "Emma," he said, sliding a folder onto the bed, "I think you should see something." Inside the folder were photographs, old black and white prints. A house. Her house. Only older. The trees were smaller, the windows boarded. The image was dated October 12, 1962. "Sheriff's Office Archives. That house got a history." He slid the next photo forward. Children. 8 of them, standing in front of the house, each with dark rings under their eyes as if they hadn't slept in weeks. A man stood behind them, tall, in a black suit. His face was blurred, not because of the photo quality, because the image itself refused to hold it. They called it Blackwood Home, Orphans, run by a man named Dr. Samuel Kern. In '52, the whole place burned down. 8 children disappeared. The doctor, too, never found. "Burned down?" Grayson nodded. "But the house was rebuilt in '87, new foundation, or so they thought." The third photograph made her stomach twist. It wasn't an old one. It was in full color. It showed the tunnel. A perfectly round, yawning black hole in the dirt floor. The edges looked wet. A faint orange light flickered inside the pit. "We found this behind the wall you broke through. The forensics guys are unsettled. It's been buried under there a long time. But here's the thing." He leant forward. "When they went back the next day, it was gone. Filled in like it never existed." Emma's heartbeat matched the sound she'd heard in the house. Thump, thump, thump. she whispered. "It's still breathing." "What?" "Nothing," she said quickly. 3 weeks later, Emma was discharged. They called her a victim, though no one could decide of what. Her official statement ended up a muddled mix of psychological trauma, hallucination, and possible gas exposure. Daniel's body was never found. They told her to go home. She had no home to go to. Emma ended up in a small, nameless motel an hour from town, the kind of place that smelled like mildew and tired people. She stayed up most nights with the lamp on, staring at the wall, waiting for something to whisper. Nothing ever did, until the night of the photograph. It came in the mail. No return address, no handwriting, just an envelope. She almost threw it away, but something about its weight made her hands go cold. She slid it open with shaking fingers. Inside was a single Polaroid, the house on Blackwood Road. Taken recently, the windows were no longer broken, the walls no longer scorched. It looked as if nothing had happened. But in the front window, faintly visible, stood Daniel, his head tilted, his eyes black, his smile wide. Her breath caught. No. She flipped the Polaroid over. A single line was written on the back in block letters, smeared like ash. "Come home." She burned the photograph in the bathroom sink. It didn't burn easily. The flames licked it, blackened it, but the image of Daniel's smile remained until the last corner curled into ash. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, someone knocked on the motel door. She froze. Knock, knock, knock. When she finally opened it, no one was there. Just a single object left on the doormat, a child's shoe, mud-stained, the sole caked with black dirt. She recognized that dirt. She'd crawled through it. Over the next few days, it escalated. The mirror fogged at exactly 3:12 a.m. every night, even when she hadn't taken a shower. Words appeared on the glass in shaky handwriting. "The house remembers." The heartbeat followed her everywhere, faint at first, like a pulse beneath the world. When she tried to sleep, she heard footsteps pacing outside her room. Slow, barefoot. She changed motels twice. It didn't help. The photographs kept coming, left under doors, in mail slots, once even taped to the back of her car. Each one showed the house closer, clearer, and always Daniel in the window. She stopped calling the police after the third report. They thought she was decompensating. She wasn't. She was being called back. 2 months after the night of the fog, Emma returned to Blackwood Road. She didn't tell anyone. The air was colder now, frost clinging to the grass. The house loomed at the end of the dirt road, perfectly still. Its broken shutters were fixed, the front door repainted. A light flickered in an upstairs window. Someone, or something, had put the house back together. Emma stepped through the gate. The crunch of the gravel beneath her boots was deafening in the quiet. Thump, thump, thump. She didn't bring a crowbar this time. She didn't bring anything at all. The front door opened by itself before she touched it. The air inside was warm, too warm. The wallpaper she had torn off was back in place. The floor she had cracked feet were smooth again. It smelled like cinnamon, like a house that was pretending to be alive. "Daniel?" she whispered. The house answered with silence. She walked slowly into the living room. On the wall above the fireplace hung a single framed photograph. She froze. It was a group photo. Dozens of people, all in front of the house. The children from 1962, the missing families from the 80s, and at the end of the row, Daniel, his arm around her shoulders, and her, smiling, eyes black. She staggered backward. "No, no, that's not me." But it was. The heartbeat grew louder, the chandelier trembled, the wallpaper shivered as though something beneath it was waking. "She's home," the walls whispered. The floorboards creaked softly as if 100 tiny feet moved beneath them. Emma ran for the door. It slammed shut before she reached it. She pounded on it, screaming, but the house didn't care. It never cared. It only breathed. The fog began seeping from beneath the floorboards again. Black, slow, patient. And then she saw it. The camera. It stood on a tripod in the center of the room, pointed directly at her. An old Polaroid, the same model that had sent her the photographs. She whispered, "No." The flash went off. Click. A photograph slid from the camera and fell to the floor. Emma didn't want to look. She did anyway. The image was still developing, the whites turning to gray. Her outline appeared first, then the house behind her, then the shadows gathering around her feet, and finally her eyes, black, just like Daniel's. The house exhaled again. The chandelier rattled. The fog rose faster, wrapping around her ankles like wet rope. The children's laughter echoed down the hallway. Daniel's voice whispered right against her ear, even though she was alone. "You're home now." The photograph finished developing at her feet. A woman with black eyes, a smile that wasn't hers, the house behind her, alive. The next morning, Detective Grayson returned to the house. The door was open wide. Inside, the house was spotless, warm, as if nothing had ever happened. On the mantel, in a neat row, were dozens of photographs. The last one showed Emma standing in the living room, smiling, Daniel at her side. Behind them the fog coiled like smoke from a sleeping beast. And in the bottom corner, scrawled in ash, "She came home." Grayson stared at the photograph until the hair on the back of his neck stood up. He thought he heard something in the walls, a heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. He didn't notice the camera turn toward him. Coming Chapter 9. Please do subscribe and stay tuned.